Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am doing a video of book recommendation tags. I saw Steph Boyer, I think that's how you say her last name. If you're watching this and I pronounced it wrong, I'm so sorry. I saw her do this and I thought it was a really interesting idea because like she was saying, like not a lot of people do tags anymore. And I thought the questions that she had for this were very good questions and some that like I asked myself or like that I've thought about before. So I thought it would be a good idea to do this. So I have a list of 15 questions that she came up with about books. So I am going to go through the questions one by one, and I will have the question on the bottom of the screen if anybody wants to do this as well. So the first question is, what book do you tell people is your favorite if you were to get asked in public? So for that book, I chose The Deal. I don't really have a lot of books that aren't like smutty or spicy. So The Deal would probably be the book I would say is my favorite because this is the one that if there's like giveaways on bookstagram, if they're asking like what is your favorite book of 2023, I would always say The Deal. For the second one, we have what book is your guilty pleasure? So for that one, I think I'd say The Stopover. I do not have a physical copy of that, but I'm going to put a picture of it right here. I just lent that to my sister-in-law, so I don't have it right now. But The Stopover is the first book to the Miles High Club series. That one has like a lot more spice than like Colleen Hoover books or like The Deal that I just showed you. So like that would probably be like my guilty pleasure because the spice level on that is like way higher than stuff that I have read in the past. But that would have to be my guilty pleasure book. The third question is, what book did everyone love that you didn't? I actually have 3 right here. The first one, we have Flock. A lot of people love this book, but I really wasn't a fan of it. It was probably one of the spiciest books I've ever read, and I'm super into spice, but there was like a couple things in this book that I wasn't a fan of, and that honestly was probably just like a little too much for me to read. I just wasn't a big fan of this one. The next one, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, is ACOTAR. Let me explain. So this one, my sister-in-law wanted me to start this one and I did. I ended up finishing it, but for some reason I couldn't like get into it. I didn't have like a strong bond to the characters. I didn't want the 2 main characters to like actually be together. Like it was fine that they were together, but I wasn't like dying for them to actually be together at the end of this. I don't know. I just really wasn't a fan of this one. But I want to keep reading the series because I heard that the second one is better and I want to like give this a chance. Like I kind of want to read this over again and see if there's like something that I missed that was a big part in the beginning. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something because I feel like I should like this book, but I just didn't. The last one is The Silent Patient. So this one is also probably one that I'm gonna get hate for not liking because a lot of people like this book. It was like an okay book to me, but it wasn't my favorite. Also, the plot twist at the end, it didn't give me that like shocking feeling. Like I don't know, I just wasn't like a huge fan of this one either. Something at the end that will literally like blow my mind. I'm like, oh my god, I did not expect that at all. And I think a lot of people get that with this book, but I didn't. So it was very slow for me. Wasn't a huge fan of the characters, and just like the ending just like didn't do it for me. The next question is, what book did you read the fastest? So the book that I read the fastest is probably A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime. This is the first money book that I've ever read. I actually read it with my book club and I flew through this. Like, we usually have a chat about it once a week, like on Sundays or something. I finished the book like within a week. I was like, I need to make note of what I read and when and what chapters they're in so I don't spoil anything when we're like talking about it. Also, it's like a huge book, so I was surprised that I went through it that quickly. The next question is, what book deserves more hype? I also don't have a physical copy to this one, but I'm gonna put it right here. It's Slammed by Colleen Hoover. I will always recommend this book. Like I love this book so much. This is probably one of the first books I've ever read. Colleen Hoover is like a big romance author out there right now, so like that's the book that I started with. I absolutely loved it. I think if a lot more people read this, they would love this book and think it's like one of their favorite Colleen Hoover books ever. That's just my opinion, but I love that book so much and I will forever love it. Especially because it got me into reading, but I think it deserves a lot more hype than it gets. Next question is a book that you love that has become a movie or a TV show. So this hasn't become a movie yet, but It Ends With Us. And this is one of the first Colleen Hoover books I've ever read as well, so I'm super excited for this to become a movie. The next question is a book that I love from a genre that I usually don't read. So that would probably be Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is a romance thriller vibe. Colleen Hoover's first thriller, I think, or Layla was her first one. I honestly don't remember, but this became her most popular thriller. Honestly, if you didn't read this one and you're into thrillers, you're into romance, I would 100% recommend this book. Next question is a book that deserves the hype it gets. So for that one, I would say Archer's Voice. But looking for like a good book to like really get into, a good romance book to really get into that has like a beautiful story, like this is definitely the one to read. And a lot of people love this one. Definitely deserves the hype that it gets because this is probably one of the most like beautiful stories I've ever read. The next one is a book that I recommend the most. For that one, I would do Every Summer After. This one is a very, very good summer read. This is a past and present POV, which is really interesting because I like past and present POV a lot. I also like dual POV. If you're looking for a good summer read, like second chance romance, childhood friends kind of vibe, this is definitely the book to go for. The next question is a book with your favorite characters in it. For that one, I would do The Score. It has Dean in it, who I love so much, like probably one of my favorite book boyfriends of all time. He's like kind of like an F-boy vibe in the beginning, but then he falls in love with Allie, and from there he just like becomes a sweetheart. I love Allie in it. I love Dean in it. This is like a hockey romance, so I love all the hockey boys' friendships and like how they all get along together. They're always hanging out, like the girlfriends, the boyfriends, all that. So I just like love every single character in this book. The next question is a book that I wish I could live in. I thought about it while I was reading this book. I was like, oh my god, this would be so cool to like be in this environment and this friend group and all of that. So this book is Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. This one I read over the summer as well. I really, really enjoyed it. I feel like this is a book that isn't talked about as much as her other ones as well, but a really, really good book that I think a lot more people would enjoy if they read it. Yeah, so this is definitely a book that I would want to live in. The next question is a book that I thought I would hate that I ended up loving. So for that one, I chose Icebreaker. I know that this one is like very, very, very popular, but most of the books that become super popular that I want to read, I end up not loving. It's weird because I think I get my hopes up so much by how much people love them that when I read them, I'm like, why did everyone love that so much? So I went into this one not thinking I would like it because I thought my hype was so big that it was just like gonna not be what I was expecting or not meet my expectations, but I ended up really liking this book. It wasn't like my favorite like everyone loves, but like, it was pretty good. Next is a book that made me cry. Honestly, I have never fully cried at a book before, and I have a couple books on my TBR list that I know will probably make me cry because a lot of people have told me that they're super sad before, but I can't like get myself to read a book that will really make me cry. But the book that got me closest to crying is Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. By the end of this book, I was like tearing up a little bit. I didn't like full on cry, but I definitely was very, very upset at the end of this one. Also another one that I don't have the hard copy to because, why don't I have the hard copy to that one? Oh, I got it from my library, but I'll put a picture right here, is If You Had Been With Me. This one, literally, I also didn't cry at the end because it takes a lot for me to cry, especially at books, but this like book, by the end of it, the last chapter like literally destroyed me. I was completely shocked. My heart was broken. I literally got the goosebumps for the rest of the day. I could not stop thinking about it for the rest of the day. I was just like literally mind blown. I still didn't cry. One day, I will have a book that I completely cry to. I know it, and I don't know if that's going to be soon. But the last one is a book that I wish I can read for the first time again, and that one would be Birthday Girl. I really, really, really enjoyed this book. I don't remember if I gave it a 5 stars. I don't think I did. There was a couple things in it that I remember that I didn't love, but I would love to read this one over again because this one's just like hooked me from the beginning. It was just a really, really good book, and I really recommend it. Very, very spicy, very smutty book, but I really wish I can read this one for the first time again. And that wraps up today's video. I hope you guys liked it. Any questions that you would like to answer in the comments below, any of the ones that I went over, please do.